No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of not just WWE Smackdown, but AEW Collision for November 17th, 2023. I somehow managed to watch both shows at the same time, just like the Monday Night War, just like the Wednesday Night War between AEW and NXT. It was tough to watch both shows, but I somehow managed to pull it off. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I very much appreciate it. Let's get going. This is NoDQ.com, the website that caused MJF to become a scumbag. If you've seen the clips with Jeff Meacham, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, we'll talk about SmackDown first, and then I'll give my thoughts on Collision. We had Damage Control coming to the ring for a promo. Footage was shown from last week with Asuka teaming up with Damage Control. And by the way, Road Dogg was on commentary this week, filling in for Corey Graves. Corey Graves and Carmella are new parents. Corey is taking a little bit of time off, I should say. Bayley was very happy. She said they're there to have a good time. She said Asuka coming out there and helping Damage Control was one of the top moments in SmackDown history. Now they have a new and improved Damage Control. But Io Sky, Asuka, Kairi, they were all joking around in Japanese. Bayley was upset, wanting to know what they were talking about. And Dakota said, well, not all of them are part of the new Damage Control. ... What is this? But it's because Asuka hasn't officially been initiated yet. So Bayley offered Asuka the Damage Control shirt. Asuka accepted it. And then Dakota officially issued the WarGames challenge to Bianca Belair's team. Shotzi's tank came out there, but nobody was driving it. And then Shotzi came off the top rope. Bianca and Charlotte ran down to make the save for Shotzi. And there was a huge brawl, but the numbers were in favor of Damage Control. Good segment here to open up the show. And then backstage, Bianca told Shotzi that they need to be more strategic. And Bianca said that Charlotte knows somebody that can help them be their fourth member for Survivor Series. And Nick Aldis came in and said that they need to make a decision. He needs to know by the end of the night. I'm wondering why Nick is being a bit of a dick here. But I guess they have a match to promote, even though they do contract signings after they've already confirmed a match. So why can't they have another week to figure it out? Anyways, it's silly, but trying to build up suspense for the end of the show. I get it. We had what they called a top contender match. Brawling Brutes versus the Street Profits versus Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly had a disco ball for their entrance. I wonder if that's gimmick infringement when it comes to Disco Inferno, since he had the disco ball back in the day. Although I doubt anybody really cares if somebody's infringing on Disco Inferno. We had 3 men in the ring during the match, and Bobby Lashley was watching backstage, and at one point, you had B-Fab approaching him. They're continuing to tease her possibly being part of the group. Good match here. Ridge Holland got in a lot of offense using his power. The Brutes did the 10 beats. And then they worked over Ridge for a while after Ridge was sent into the steel steps. But then Butch got a hot tag, built up some momentum, hit a moonsault to the outside onto everybody. And then things started to break down. And there was a miscommunication where Butch accidentally kicked Ridge. And then Ridge was pinned by the Street Profits with the revelation. Profits will get a match with Judgment Day next week on SmackDown, which is on FS1, by the way, just so you know. That is the go-home show in Chicago before Survivor Series. After the match was over, Lashley came out to celebrate with the Profits, and Ridge walked out on Butch, teasing a Brawling Brutes breakup. Now, I'm thinking Sheamus will be back soon, and he'll get things settled with these guys. Maybe we'll get a match, but then Sheamus will have them bury the hatchet. I just can't imagine these guys breaking up right now. I think it would be a mistake. Like, I feel they kind of need each other at this point. The Brawling Brutes as a group keeps them relevant on SmackDown as far as I'm concerned. Michael sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Michael. I appreciate it. It says, Nick Aldis is getting his wife in the WarGames match. Well, spoiler alert, it was not Mickie James. But I promise you guys, I will talk about the fourth member of the team by the end of this stream, so stay tuned. Sheamus is injured, Jerry. Sheamus has been injured for a couple months, and once he's back, I suspect we'll see something happen here with the Brawling Brutes. Now, Bianca Belair was backstage chatting it up with Michin about her possibly being part of the Survivor Series team. But then after the commercial break, Michin was attacked by Damage Control, laid out. And we had a recap of Rey Mysterio being attacked by Santos Escobar. They confirmed that he had surgery and he will be out of action for several months. I'm guessing it's not going to be that long, maybe a month or 2 months, Royal Rumble season, but does that really qualify as several? We had Dragon Lee versus Axum, who is from NXT. This was his first match on SmackDown, and this was a really good match, a very AEW-like match where these guys were just doing all their high-flying moves. Very fun, exciting match to watch. And Axum got in a lot of offense on Dragon Lee, a lot of near falls, high-flying moves. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome" for these guys. Like, they were really enjoying it. Axum did some kind of pile driver like maneuver, and it was crazy. They were both on top, and they did a Spanish fly off the top. Fun stuff here. Lee kept kicking out though, and Lee eventually won after hitting a running knee, followed by the Operation Dragon finisher. Very good match here. Check it out. I mean, crowd was loving it. Dragon Lee picking up some serious momentum, and Axum looked good even though he lost the match. Joey Perez going to Full Gear. Have fun with that, Joey. I appreciate you tuning in tonight. Thank you for that. Get some rest. It's going to be a long show Saturday night. Santos Escobar came to the ring for a promo, and I think this might have been my favorite segment of either show. This was a great promo from Santos. He was just venting all of his frustrations. He said, "Never meet your heroes." Crowd was chanting "what" at him, but he kept going, did not let it throw him off. He said that Rey Mysterio was his hero. And as he was talking, the LWO was watching backstage. Santos said that Rey was a father figure to him, but as it turns out, Dominic was right about everything that he said about Rey Mysterio. Santos said that he should have been the United States champion. He wanted to rebuild the LWO, but then Rey just took it over and brought in an outsider like Carlito and sided with Carlito over him. And that was the final straw for Santos. And then Santos said he was apologizing for not doing more damage to Rey. Then he got really brutal. This was one of the most savage lines I've heard on a WWE show in quite some time. This is something that maybe Christian Cage or Don Callis might say on AEW. Santos said that he was hoping the surgery does not go well and that Rey gets an infection and has to have his leg amputated. Wow. I was a little surprised that they would say something like this on a PG show, but it was a great line. It was brutal. Zelina Vega came down and she was in tears. Zelina did a great job here. Like, she was acting totally distraught. She came in the ring and slapped, and this was not a weak slap. She slapped him as hard as she could. And Legado del Fantasma, the other two guys, came down to the ring. And Santos got on the mic again and said that they're just dead weight. He doesn't need them. He ordered them to leave, and they started to leave, but then he attacked both of them from behind. Carlito then ran down to make the save, and it was confirmed that Carlito will face Santos Escobar at Survivor Series in a one-on-one match. We'll see what happens, but I suspect Santos will be picking up a win here. Great angle. Fantastic job by Santos. Also, Zelina did really well here. I very much enjoyed this segment, building up some heat for what I think is going to be a WrestleMania match. Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar. A great start to the Santos heel turn. Michael sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Michael. Says, Santos with that Batista heel turn on Rey. Yeah, very similar. And I think I even mentioned this last week that it definitely paralleled that. Instead of "you're supposed to be my friend, we're supposed to be together," is what Santos said, instead of "you're supposed to be my friend," which is what Batista said. Great stuff here. Awesome. Love it. Although poor Rey, everybody's always turning against him. Maybe Rey's the problem. D. Martin 5th sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He said, at least Santos didn't give the "I don't owe you a damn explanation" line. Well, that's the thing. When you actually have a compelling storyline and you've thought it out in advance, you can explain it. Like, we've seen the seeds planted. Like, you could tell that there were tensions building when Rey took his spot and then won the United States title. Like, that was a big clue that something was going to happen. And then Carlito coming in. So you could tell that Santos was kind of being pushed to the side. It made sense. But so many times over the years, WWE, WCW, TNA, they would run these heel turns with no real thought process behind them. Like, it was just for pure shock value. So you had no good reason for why it happened. So thus, the heel would have to go out there and say, "I don't owe you people an explanation." It was just because they had no real reason as to why the heel turn happened. And Rage of Wrestling, Walter Cruz, sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Said, Santos did an awesome job. He can handle himself well. They have a big Latino heel star now. He keeps his momentum. Maybe we'll get a Mexico WWE Premium Live event. I would not rule it out. I definitely think it's a possibility in the future. They're doing more international shows. And yeah, if you build up some more stars besides Ray. You got Santos, you got Dominic, Dragon Lee they're building up. You're building up more Lucha Libre stars, then yeah, I could definitely see that as a possibility, maybe 2025. Thank you for that, Walter, and I agree with you about Santos. TJS sent in a $5 super chat, said, pretty crazy that WWE decided to run the pair of live events in our respective necks of the woods. I'll try to keep your photography. He'll try to top my photography with his iPhone 15 Pro Max. Well, mine is not a 15 Pro, so yes, you will top me on that one, TJS. But there's also the skill in the actual photographer, too. Keep that in mind. Yeah, WWE will be in Saginaw, Michigan this Sunday, and I'll be going to that show, which is why there will be no review this Sunday night. As Virtue put it, I'm going to a house show to see Gunther instead of doing the no DQ review. He's a little butthurt about that, but he'll get over it. We'll be back after Survivor Series the following Sunday, 26th. We'll be back with a no DQ review. Thank you for that super chat, TJS. And Hoodie Villain sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Hoodie Villain. I appreciate it. Says, I thought I was the only one who thought that Zelina is an amazing actress. She looked completely devastated, like it was real. Yeah, she did a fantastic job. She's really stepping it up, too. Like this past year, Zelina has really elevated her stock in WWE as far as I'm concerned. And she did a great prank phone call job on Dominic, which was posted on her social media accounts. She's doing great stuff as of late. Definitely been doing some of the best work of her career over the past year or so. Really, since the LWO was formed, she's stepped it up to the next level. Anyways, back to SmackDown. We had Cameron Grimes versus Grayson Waller with Austin Theory on commentary. Pretty standard match, not much to it. Grayson did get in a bit of offense, but Waller was able to avoid the cave-in. He rolled to the apron, and then Grimes went for a kick, but hit Austin Theory instead of Waller. Waller dodged it. Waller then took advantage and got the win. So it wasn't really the stupid baby face, like Grimes just kicked Theory by mistake and just a moment of confusion, and Waller was able to get the win. So basic stuff here. And next week, Kevin Owens will return from his suspension and will be on the Grayson Waller effect. And yeah, Grimes is basically enhancement talent at this point, but not everybody can be a top tier guy. Like the fact that he's even getting TV time at this point is a good thing for him. You know, he's not going to be your upper tier guy or even a middle tier guy at this point, which, you know, he's got to keep pushing. Maybe he can bust out of the pack and break the ceiling, but it's going to be tough. You know, SmackDown's a loaded roster. AJ is out right now. Sheamus is out right now. And it's tough to get a spot. So any TV time you can get, try to make the most of it. And maybe he'll get an opportunity at some point. But hey, some TV time is better than none. We had Bianca Belair backstage talking to Zelina Vega, who was still very distraught, trying to recruit her. So this segment was a little dumb. Like, they could have gotten somebody else besides Zelina, because why would you even ask her? Like, she's upset. She's not in the right frame of mind. Is she the only other woman in the locker room you could try to recruit? And that's not the only issue I had with this point, because Zelina Vega was attacked by Damage Control too. You would think that, okay, earlier in the show, Michin was attacked. If you're Bianca Belair, aren't you going to think to yourself, okay, maybe I should have Zelina's back? I'm trying to recruit this distraught woman, and I'm just going to go walk off and leave her alone after I've tried to recruit her so she can get beat up by Damage Control. Like, I actually thought this was a weak segment. It made Bianca look like an idiot to just walk off on Zelina, and mean too, like to try and recruit her. So I was not a fan of this particular segment. I get it. Damage Control needs to wipe out all of the competition, but yeah, I was not a fan of this one. I thought it was a dumb segment. And then Bianca Belair immediately ran over to check on her. Oh yeah, after the fact. Could have stayed there with her while she's distraught, or maybe not even try to recruit her in the first place when she's upset and dealing with a very serious issue of her own. Last thing she needs on her plate is WarGames. What were you thinking, Bianca? Anyways, moving on here. That was probably the weak point of the show. We had footage shown of John Cena losing to Solo Sikoa. And Rage of Wrestling, Walter, sent in a $2 super chat, shows how SmackDown's woman roster is not that strong. I mean, they could have even had Scarlett be recruited and then she turns her down, or just do something different. I don't know, like anything. But yeah, the roster is pretty thin besides the women that are already featured on TV. So we had Paul Heyman in the ring with Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. Paul Heyman cut this great promo saying that John Cena's not there. He's never going to appear in a WWE ring again. And he said goodbye to John Cena. And that was supposed to be the cue for Cena to come out there. But Heyman said, it's not going to happen. There's no comeback. He mocked Cena's song, started humming it. Great stuff here. And said that Cena can't even communicate. So how can he make a comeback? LA Knight showed up, had about enough of this, and said that Reigns is only champion because of the bloodline, and says that it's a problem, but he's a problem solver, and he's going to make the bloodline cease to exist one by one until there is only one guy left and nobody that can save Roman Reigns. We had our match, which was LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso. And before this, Bianca told Charlotte to make that phone call. You know, after two people got hurt, there's nobody else. So they had to make a phone call. More on that in a few minutes. And Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It says, do we need to put an APB out for AJ Styles? I think they're just waiting for the right creative moment to bring him back. And, well, if he's not part of Survivor Series, why bring him back randomly right now? I suspect he'll be back in time for the Royal Rumble for sure. So if we don't see him by the beginning of January, then I think we can definitely start to wonder what the hell is going on. But yeah, I think they're just waiting for the right time to bring him back. And that's probably after Survivor Series. Now, we had LA Knight versus Jimmy Uso. Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman just walked out and left Jimmy Uso all by himself. And this was a standard match. I mean, it was very basic. It was back and forth for a bit, but LA Knight ultimately won with the BFT on his second attempt. And then Solo came back down. Jimmy Uso attacked LA Knight from behind, and Solo Sikoa laid out LA Knight with the Samoan spike and then was going to put him through the announce table. But then Monday Night Raw's Cody Rhodes made the save for LA Knight. So I guess he's trying to recruit LA Knight for Survivor Series. Otherwise, why was he there? Which is interesting too. So I guess they're going to do an angle. I mean, I think it's going to be Randy Orton and not LA Knight, but I guess they're going to tease it now, and maybe they're going to do the same angle where LA Knight gets beat down by Judgment Day and we need another guy. I don't know what they're thinking here, but anyways, Cody stood tall with LA Knight to end the segment, and then backstage we had a little reunion of Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes. Remember, they fought at the first All In that led to the birth of AEW back in 2018. And Aldis told Cody he had to go. Well, the show's almost over, so yeah, kind of late for that, Nick Aldis. But anyways, Charlotte said that this person was on the way, but didn't know if she was going to make it in such short time. Where was this person coming from anyways? The show was in Evansville, Indiana. So why was this person even anywhere in Indiana in the first place? So kind of a logic hole, but we'll just ignore it. Maybe Charlotte told her to show up just in case she was needed. In which case, why not just say we got a partner already? So the whole thing was kind of silly. Our final segment, Team Bianca in the ring for a promo. Charlotte said if they're going to war, there's only one person she wants on her side, even though they have their issues. Damage Control interrupted. Bayley said it was a bluff, but then Becky Lynch showed up. It was, in fact, Becky Lynch, and a big brawl erupted, and Charlotte hit the moonsault to everybody on the outside. Show went off the air. Becky Lynch is officially part of WarGames, even though she's on Monday Night Raw. That's okay, apparently. Cody Rhodes showing up, no good, but Becky Lynch showing up is A-okay. Logic issues aside, it was a solid SmackDown. I'd probably go with a B. The Dragon Lee match was really good. Definitely check that out. I loved the Santos angle, and the Damage Control stuff, it was entertaining, but yeah, some of it did not make sense to me. And now the question is, can Becky Lynch coexist with Charlotte Flair? And Bianca, for that matter, because she has history with both of them. But this was the only person they could get. No Jade Cargill or anybody else, anybody from NXT. Nope. Becky Lynch is part of the team. So there you go. Good show, solid B. Now, we'll move on here to AEW Collision at the Forum in Los Angeles. Not a very big crowd. I saw some photos, a lot of empty seats, like not even half capacity for the show. But the good news is Full Gear's got a pretty big crowd, over 10,000 fans. So at least they got the big crowd for the pay-per-view. Tony Schiavone interviewed Christian Cage, and he called the people of Los Angeles plastic, phony people, and vowed the Full Gear 6-man match to be Sting's last match ever. Sting is just an icon living off of his past name, and said that if Ric Flair gets involved, that there's going to be a come to Jesus moment for him, and then said that Adam Copeland is going to regret signing with AEW, and Christian warned he's not the same person he used to be, and Adam's kids better accept the reality that Adam Copeland could very well end up with a broken neck, courtesy of Christian Cage. Solid promo here from Christian to open up the show. And then Ricky Starks and Big Bill cut a little promo. They did confirm that this 4-team match at Full Gear is going to be a ladder match. Sure, why not? Let's spice it up a little bit. I'm down. Should be a fun match. And then we had Miro versus Danny Garcia. Lana was out there, or excuse me, CJ Perry as or no, she was not out there. What am I thinking? I'm not thinking here. So Miro versus Daniel Garcia, and Garcia was struggling to get the big man down, and Garcia was in trouble. He avoided the game over, hit a belly-to-back suplex on Miro, and then he was going to start dancing. But then Daddy Magic came out there and got on the apron, was yelling at Garcia, told him to stop dancing. And then Miro got sent into Daddy Magic. Garcia rolled up Miro, but Miro kicked out. And then Garcia put on a submission, a sharpshooter. Miro was able to escape, hit the Mashka kick or whatever it's called now, and then got the win with the game over submission. Miro picks up the win here. So yeah, solid match, pretty standard. And then backstage, it was Andrade with CJ Perry, and she called him the best wrestler and said that he's going to enter the Continental Classic tournament they're doing, and talked to Tony Khan, and Andrade's going to get some extra money out of this. Andrade was a little thrown off by it, but said that he trusts her, and we'll see what happens. Andrade is in this Continental Classic tournament. We had a quick squash match here, House of Black versus the Boys. You know who won this one. Easy win for House of Black. And then we had Brian Cage versus Trent Beretta versus Commander versus Penta, with the winner going on to face Christian for the TNT Championship on Rampage, which is actually happening as we speak. So maybe we'll get a result of that, maybe not. But I mean, I could tell you who's going to win based off of who got the win in this match. And even if the biggest star in this match won, they were still not going to beat Christian. So spoiler alert, especially with Full Gear coming up. So kind of a waste of time here, but this match was good though. Entertaining match. Brian Cage doing a lot of power moves, dominating early on, and he did the thing where he stands on the middle rope and suplexed one of the guys, not sure which one, but took the guy over and suplexed him onto the other two guys on the outside. They needed to work together to get down Cage, and Trent hit a poison Rana. Cage basically no-sold it and took out Trent with a lariat. Then Penta came in, did some moves, hit a dive to the outside onto Cage, and then Commander came over the top with a dive, got back in the ring, but then Trent took out Commander with the strong zero, got the win, and he'll be the one getting the match against Christian. I was a little surprised Trent won, but hey, he's going to be fed to Christian anyways, so I guess better Trent than like one of the others being fed to Christian. There you go. We had a Powerhouse Hobb and Don Callis backstage promo, and they really put over Hobbs for body slamming Paul White onto the car. Said that Paul White is on the shelf now. He's done. He's not coming back, which could be the case here. I mean, Paul White's getting pretty old. Not sure what else he can do at this stage. And if he's done, though, I mean, this is huge for Hobbs. We'll see if they capitalize on this. Hobbs said that he's big, he's black, and he's jacked. And he basically put everybody on notice. I like the promo, but I'm a little skeptical if they'll keep the momentum going for him. Remember, he beat Chris Jericho several weeks ago, dominated Jericho, and I still feel like he hasn't really reached his full potential, but we'll see what they do with him here. We had another squash match. Wardlow just beat the crap out of some guy, and the referee quickly stopped the match. Not much to say about it. Alan says, thank you for the updates. Well, I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. We had Dax the Axe, who was initially billed as Dax Hardwood with a D instead of Harwood. The graphics department was thinking of something else. They had something else on their mind. But they changed the graphic to Dax the Axe. Dax wanted a handshake but Rush was not in the mood for it. And this was a really good match. Hard-hitting match with these guys, back and forth. Dax's chest was bleeding. They were trading chops and shots, and both guys were down. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." And then they were on the outside of the ring. Dax got sent into the ring post, and then Rush turned his attention to Ricky Starks, who was out there on commentary with Big Bill. Rush ended up pie-facing Starks, got in the ring, was about to give the horns to Dax, but then Ricky Starks got in the ring and speared Rush, causing a disqualification or a no contest. I guess Tony Khan ruled it a no contest. So yeah, a rare DQ in AEW. Like, they don't do this too often. This was very WWE-like, where the guy on commentary gets his hands put on him, he gets in the ring, and the match is thrown out. So yeah, they did a WWE finish here, which was kind of unfortunate because they were having a great match here. But yeah, they ended it on a DQ, and then everybody came down. Like, House of Black was out there, Penta was out there, everybody was brawling, and we had a little tease between Big Bill and Brody King, and they pulled out a ladder. Security had to come out there. So yeah, it was a standard brawl to set up the ladder match. It was solid. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says, "Hey Baron, did you enjoy retiring Kurt Angle?" Well, other than the hair, Baron Corbin and I have nothing in common. I appreciate the super chat, but please don't even compare me to Baron Corbin again, because that son of a bitch blocked me on Twitter, and I want nothing to do with the guy. I'm kind of glad he's not on TV, to be totally honest with you. We had a little backstage segment with Roderick Strong and Action Andretti. Guess they're going to have a match. Don't really care too much. And then we had Buddy Matthews versus Wheeler Yuta. Another good match here with these guys. I mean, Buddy Matthews can pretty much have a good match with anybody, and Yuta's a good wrestler. So, yeah, good match with these guys. Competitive. Yuta kept trying to put away Buddy, unsuccessful, and eventually Buddy was able to get the win with the curb stomp. And then after the match, he was going to keep the attack going on Yuta, but then Claudio ran down, got on the mic, and issued a challenge to Buddy for Full Gear, and Buddy accepted the challenge. And yes, Caleb, Baron's on NXT, but I don't watch NXT, so out of sight, out of mind, although I guess I'll have to see him at the Deadline pay-per-view. Whoopee. And we got Buddy Matthews versus Claudio, which should be a hell of a match, but I just dread the 4-hour pay-per-view. It's just a long show. We really don't need this match set up on literally a 1-day notice. Like, it's going to be a great match, but I don't need to see it. Like, just do it on Dynamite. Doesn't need to be on the pay-per-view, in my opinion. And I'll probably say that when I do the recap. Like, it's going to be a great match. You know these guys will deliver, but I just would prefer a little bit of a shorter show, honestly. I don't mind paying $50 for a great 3-hour show. I don't need a 4-hour show. Just saying. But it falls on deaf ears. Tony Khan doesn't care. He's doing a 4-hour show. Bottom line. We had our final match, which was actually the women's match, although it wasn't the final segment of the show. So they technically still did not get the main event segment. They got the main event match, but not the main event segment. It was Saraya and Ruby Soho versus Hikaru Shida and Kris Statlander. Shida, the women's champion, Statlander, the TBS champion. People were a little scared because this was the final match, and it was reported that Ronda Rousey was backstage at Collision. Now, she is a Los Angeles resident, so makes sense that she would stop by while AEW is in town. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, but people were scared. People thought that maybe she was going to appear on Collision, which I thought was unlikely. If they're going to bring in Ronda Rousey, certainly not going to be at Collision, a show that probably is not going to do very well viewership-wise going against SmackDown. So anyways, tag match here. Standard tag match. I mean, it was fairly typical. The big angle they did here was that Angelo Parker, he's got a thing going on with Ruby Soho, and there was a point in the match where Shida knocked Ruby off the apron, and Parker went to check on her, and they were getting all flirty or whatever they're doing. And Saraya was very upset about this, and Shida took advantage, pinned Saraya, and got some momentum heading into Full Gear. So again, not much to say about it. They're doing this romance thing with Parker and Ruby, splitting up potentially Ruby and Saraya. Then we had our final segment, which was with the AEW World Champion MJF, the scumbag created by NoDQ.com, apparently. Tony Khan spoke with MJF, and MJF brought up Adam Cole. The injury is MJF's fault as far as he's concerned, and he's not going to let Adam Cole down. He said it's not the title that makes the man, it's the man that makes the title. And he said nobody's on the level of the devil. He's going to retain the tag team titles, and he's going to make it to 365 days as champion with the most defenses by beating Jay White. He said the odds are seemingly against him, slim to none, but he just happens to like those odds. And the show went off the air. So there you have it. MJF is confident, and best of luck to Max against Jay White and the Guns, having to try and defend both of those titles. Much love to MJF. You guys probably saw the video with Jeff Meacham. Jeff got to meet him finally in person, and MJF let the world know that he used to watch us back in the day growing up. But that son of a bitch said that Jeff is far superior. So screw you, MJF, you scumbag. Collision was decent. I mean, from what I saw, and it was tough because I was balancing both shows, it seemed decent, not like a blowaway show, nor did I expect it to be one because, well, it's going against SmackDown, so their viewership is going to be low likely. But it was all right. I would say it was like a B- show. You had a couple of squash matches. They set up a few things for Full Gear. It was fine. Not anything that you would necessarily have to go out of your way to see. But it was solid from what I could tell. That's it. I recapped both shows. I watched both somehow. It was a task, but I did it, got through it. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, leaving your comments, leaving your feedback. Thank you all very much for that. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. I really do appreciate your continued viewership and support. Thank you, MJF, for acknowledging Jeff Meacham and NoDQ. I appreciate that too. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Full Gear. By the way, MJF, if you're happening to watch this, which who knows, you might be, please tell Tony Khan to consider cutting off an hour of these pay-per-views. Like, give us a 3-hour show or start it at 7. At the very least, start it at 7 and end at 11. But ideally, start it at 7, end it at 10. I would love that. Just saying. Thank you, guys. Take care. See you next time. Buy a shirt, nodq.com/merch. Say yeah to nodq.com. And I will see you guys probably after midnight for a recap of AEW Full Gear. See you then.